This is the post-Me Too world, and this is its latest poster boy. Andrew Cuomo was the celebrity governor of New York. He was forced to resign. Why is this a global headline? Because this is a very important story. For the sexual predators who think that their rank and power will save them, and the victims who think it's impossible to get powerful men punished, this story is an example. It can happen. It is happening. The mighty are falling, being forced to leave public office for their personal misconduct. As Cuomo resigned yesterday, here's what he told the world.
I take full responsibility for my actions. I have been too familiar with people. My sense of humor can be insensitive and off-putting. I do hug and kiss people casually, women and men. I have done it all my life. It's who I've been since I can remember. In my mind, I've never crossed the line with anyone. But I didn't realize the extent to which the line has been redrawn. There are generational and cultural shifts that I just didn't fully appreciate. And I should have. No excuses. But I want to thank the women who came forward with sincere complaints. It's not easy to step forward, but you did an important service. And you taught me, and you taught others an important lesson. Personal boundaries must be expanded and must be protected. I accept full responsibility.
The fall of Andrew Cuomo is more than a New York story. This man is a global figure. The pandemic made him prominent. Cuomo's daily press briefings were broadcast live on international news networks. The world saw this man as a comforting figure. This was before 11 women accused him of harassment. And now, just like Cuomo's PowerPoint presentations on the pandemic, the story of his fall too must be told to the world. And here's our take on the story. The Andrew Cuomo scandal goes beyond personal boundaries. It's about the abuse of power, both at political offices and in newsrooms. This is a story about the nexus between the press and the powerhouses. Closely linked to Andrew Cuomo is this man, Chris Cuomo, CNN star anchor and primetime host. Chris Cuomo is the younger brother of Andrew Cuomo. Last year, the two made headlines with their on-air banter, jokes, arguments on who is the better brother, and reminders to call their mother. Chris Cuomo would host the 9 p.m. show on CNN, and Andrew would be his regular guest. On a lot of these days, Andrew Cuomo's handling of the pandemic would be the top story. You can imagine how it went. 1 year on, Chris Cuomo still hosts CNN's primetime show, but Andrew Cuomo does not feature on it. You see, he's in trouble. And Chris Cuomo has been advising him on how to tackle the allegations of sexual misconduct. The Washington Post broke the story in the month of May. The very same day, Chris Cuomo told his audience, "It's family first, job second." In other words, do not expect objectivity from me when it comes to covering my brother's scandal. How did his network react to this? CNN put out a statement. Let me read out from it. Chris has not been involved in CNN's extensive coverage of the allegations against Governor Cuomo on air or behind the scenes, in part because he has said on his show he could never be objective, but also because he often serves as a sounding board for his brother. He advises him. Here's what happened next. Chris Cuomo went back to his studio and continued hosting his show. The scandal never made it to the show's rundown. The story was ignored. Even when it became the biggest headline in the United States, CNN barred Chris Cuomo from speaking to Andrew Cuomo's lawyers and aides on the harassment case. But nothing prevented Chris from getting on a direct call with his brother. The day Andrew Cuomo resigned, Chris was missing from TV. He was quote-unquote on a planned vacation. Until then, for every night, CNN was okay not covering the day's biggest story in its prime time. Rule 1 of journalism says it must be independent and not be party to politics. Walling a story defeats the very purpose of journalism. For years, CNN has accused networks like Fox of walling stories. It has taken pride in supposedly siding with the truth always. It now stands exposed to its viewers in America and outside it. This network is not the only one. The nexus between the press and politics spills outside CNN's newsroom. The biggest of American networks and publications are guilty of taking sides. They also happen to be the ones that preach the most. Let me show you a list. This is a list of prominent journalists who went on to join the Obama administration, active journalists who joined a government. Douglas Frantes, he worked for the New York Times. Glenn Johnson, the online politics editor of Boston Globe. Stephen Barr and Shelag Murray of the Washington Post, Sasha Johnson and Anish Raman of the CNN. There are at least 24 such journalists who left a newsroom and went straight to work with Obama. Now, many of them work with the Biden administration, but for years they claimed to be politically neutral. They worked for organizations that schooled others on fair journalism. They worked for networks like CNN, papers like the New York Times, publications like HuffPost. How does this work? What kind of nexus is this? If Americans want to ensure that men like Andrew Cuomo do not rise above justice and that more men are held accountable for sexual harassment and misconduct, they must start by asking the American media to do a better job to ensure their news networks cover real stories and not ignore headlines when they don't suit them. WION is now available in your country. Download the app now and get all the news on the move.